Hello, and welcome to the Cultural Icons podcast. I'm your host, Francesca Guerrero. On Cultural Icons, we look to analyze the history and evolution of popular cultural elements. Today on the program, we're going to be focusing on the infamous Catrinas, known as skeleton ladies, or the inspiration behind sugar skulls. Now, when you think of Catrinas, your first thought might be this scene.
Oh, I don't know what I'd do if no one put up my photo.
Next.
Oh, Camilo, it's our turn.
Welcome back, amigos. Anything to declare?
As a matter of fact, yes.
Hola.
The 2017 Pixar film Coco took inspiration from Mexico's long-held annual tradition of Dia de los Muertos, known in English as Day of the Dead. The Catrinas have become intrinsic to the identity of these celebrations. These talking skeleton ladies have a richer history than the Pixar movie and marketed Halloween items give them credit for, one that has deep roots in the Aztec religion. It's the early 14th century, and the Aztecs, or Mexica as they refer themselves to, are a small and nomadic tribe. Deciding to take a long-awaited pilgrimage, they embark on a harrowing journey. After much time, they receive a sign from the heavens at a spot near Lake Texcoco. There, they decide to establish their capital city, Tenochtitlan. The Aztecs also had strong beliefs in both science and religion. Their religious pantheon consisted of several deities, including Mixtecatlihuatl, the Aztec goddess of death, who presided over the underworld in the Aztec Festival of the Dead. Sound familiar? This festival is the origin for the modern-day Day of the Dead celebrations in Mexico. And if you look at a sculpture depicting Mixtecatlihuatl, she has a body with no flesh, similar to a skeleton, sunken eyes and no lips, just her teeth. She may seem like an eerie deity to behold, but in reality, she was the protector of the bones of the dead and the underworld itself. But at this point, the Catrina isn't the modern sugar skull we think of today. For that, we need to jump to early 20th century Mexico. Mexico at this time was different from the Aztec period. The nation's leader was the dictator Porfirio Díaz, a controversial figure who had come from poor and mixed origins before rising to power. At first, he had attempted to institute positive change in the country. He stabilized Mexico's economic system through the adoption of capitalism and opened the budding nation to the world. Mexico, being rich in natural minerals, attracted foreign investment, but this money, instead of going to the people's hands, went directly to the privileged few. In the eyes of many of his people, he had renounced his indigenous heritage and the connection with the populace to become part of the European ruling class, preferring to throw extravagant parties for the wealthy burgess class. During Porfirio Díaz's sixth and last term, thousands had been starving while the rich got richer. There was a lot of social resentment towards the ruling class, and political printmakers like José Guadalupe Posada used graphic images as critiques of this unfair system. Posada was an engraver who used prints as a means of protesting injustice. He produced illustrations for the Gaceta Callejera, translated to the Gazette of the Street, a newspaper that sold cheaply and was massively distributed across Mexico City. Posada preferred using calaveras, translated to skeletons, as a means of depicting real-life figures. His skeletal imagery combined both serious political topics with comical humor. Posada produced the first modern iteration of La Catrina. Her first debut was as La Calavera Garbancera, which translates to chickpea skeleton, an image of a female skeleton wearing a fanciful French hat. The purpose behind this drawing was to critique the indigenous Mexicans who had rejected their heritage for that of the Europeans. These Mexicans going so far as to look and dress like the Europeans by lightening their skin and wearing European styles. Posada enjoyed using skeletons in his work as a means of stressing his point that death was the great equalizer. Rich or poor, all of us end up the same. Later known as the father of Mexican printmaking, Posada died in relative obscurity. His work did go on to inspire a multitude of Mexican artists, including the famed Diego Rivera. In 1948, Rivera would create a mural depicting 400 years of Mexican history, titled Sueño de una tarde dominical en la Alameda Central, which translates to Dream of the Sunday afternoon in Alameda Park. The mural is quite powerful and complex, depicting individuals who greatly impacted Mexican history. Our eye, though, is drawn to the central figure of La Catrina. At this point is when she finally receives her name. On her right is her creator José Guadalupe Posada, and on her left is a young Diego Rivera. Her name, La Catrina, is the feminine version of El Catrín, which translates to a dandy in Mexican culture. A dandy is a self-involved, rich society individual, and the name accurately describes what La Catrina represents. Today, she is depicted in various forms, including paintings, carvings, clay, pottery, makeup, film, and papier-mâché sculptures, amongst others. She serves the title role as the face of the Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead in Mexican culture. The name itself may invoke a morbid image in your mind, but it is nothing like that. This festival is an opportunity for people to mourn and connect with their dearly departed. It is a celebration of life and quite a joyous affair.
The Day of the Dead is regarded as a time where the dead can come alive again. The dead is nothing we have to be afraid of. It's just a part of life that we have to face. And in Mexican culture, that has become actually really important in the way we perceive life.
Omar, in the British Museum's video on Day of the Dead, describes the cheerful quality of this holiday. Although the video itself takes on a more serious and dark tone, it still drives the point that this holiday is an opportunity for people to receive peace with death. The holiday officially begins when the souls of the departed enter our world from the land of the dead on October 31st, and ends when these souls leave back to their resting place on November 2nd. The exuberant nature of the gathering is evident in the use of vivid colors. A bright shade of pink, blue, purple, orange, and more are combined with black and white to depict the different layers of this affair. It is not meant to be a solemn occasion, but instead a happy one. To partake, you would normally build a small shrine dedicated to the departed, placing a photo of the deceased in the center. On this shrine, you would add several items such as more photos, flowers, typically marigolds, favorite foods, and other small items that the deceased enjoyed. Those that have passed and are currently in the land of the living can take pleasure in their old cherished items and experience these memories with their living relatives. We can see in the images the titular role that Catrinas play in this holiday, not just to clearly represent the cultural significance of this event, but transcending the purpose from which her creator made her for. These celebrations cannot come to pass without her presence in them. She has become a true cultural icon, even transcending borders in her skeletal form. Her other iterations coming in the form of sugar skulls. Over the past few years, we have seen how she has become a principal element during Halloween. There isn't a house without a decoration of her. She has inspired others to dress up like her, to wear skeletal makeup and elegant clothing, or through art such as paintings of her. There are even stores when during the season you can go and buy items like a sugar skull planter. Either way, La Catrina has evolved, and her modern-day iteration has as much of an impact on Mexican culture than as Mixtecatlihuatl, the Aztec goddess of death. She is a combination of pre-Hispanic beliefs, of the Mexican people's ability to view death with humor, and a social critique on classism in Mexican culture. All of these combined create the modern version of La Catrina we see today. She is a figure intrinsic to the celebrations of the Day of the Dead, a symbol of Mexican endurance and culture, and she serves as a reminder that her creator Posada stressed above all else, all of us, rich or poor, will end the same. Well, that's it for today, folks. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. If you enjoyed this video, please click that like button, and if you have thoughts, leave a comment for some good discussion. Today's Cultural Icons episode was about La Catrina, and if you have any ideas for future icons, please let me know. All references are linked in the show notes.